You know, emotional abuse kind of sneaks up on you. It's not something you're expecting, and you hear it. It may startle you, but then often you start thinking, "Oh, is there some truth to that?" And you start working on yourself, which is not a bad thing to do. And then you stop realizing where it's coming from, and you start thinking it's your fault. So in this episode, I wanted to really point out 10, and again, has 10 of many, many, many more ways that you can become used to emotional abuse. And yes, of course, you have to pick your battles. I understand that. You can't be arguing about everything. But I want these 10 things to really stand out for you, to say, has this become the fabric of the relationship? Has this emotional abuse become so much a part of the fabric that I no longer am reacting to it? And maybe I ought to upgrade that. Maybe I should be thinking more about that's really not okay. It's really, really not okay. And I have been giving them a pass or just shrugging my shoulders and saying, well, that's who they are. And maybe it's time to look at these 10 things very specifically. And remember, too, if you had these things in your childhood, in the home that you grew up in, you're really not going to see them as really big deals when you find it in a partnership relationship because it's part of the fabric of who you are. And that's sad. I absolutely agree. But it also doesn't have to remain that way. You can change. You can see it differently. You can say no. You can say, not on my watch. And sure, maybe you can't say it today or tomorrow, but you can create a plan to say it and act on it and know that you can do it. But the first thing is to be aware that it's actually happening. And that's key. So these 10 things, and they're some of them, of course, they'll be obvious to you, but others, they kind of get under the radar. They kind of get, I don't know, they almost seem to be routinized. They've become the routine of the relationship. There's nothing normal about it, so I won't use those words, but they've become part of the routine of the relationship, and you might think of it in that context. So let's just go through the 10 of them and see what stands out for you. See what maybe you can note that, yeah, I've forgotten about that one. That happens frequently. I've kind of given up on it. But you want to make a note of that because you don't want to be allowing yourself to forget in how many ways you're being abused. I know people don't like to say that. They don't like to say, I am being abused. But that's the moment when you can do something. That's the moment of action. That's the moment of inspiration when you say, I am being abused and I don't want to be abused another moment. And I will not allow it. And I will not allow it as a model for my children. And I'm sure that you would join me in that thought. So let's look at these 10 things because, as I said, some of them may be more obvious to you than others, but none of them are okay. Emotional abuse is not okay. I have to be very clear about that. It's not, oh, well, it's just emotional abuse. No, emotional abuse is like somebody is subjecting you to 10,000 paper cuts a day. It hurts, it bleeds, it stings. You don't want any of it. and it's unfair. So let's notice those. So the first one is that you will be accused of cheating or endeavoring to attract someone's attention, or even threatening that you're doing it. And if you do it, there's going to be hell to pay or a divorce in the offing. Now, how many times has that happened? I was working with a client not long ago, and she was someone I knew well. She had a new love, and it was at that stage where hardly could keep their hands off each other, right? And so she was telling me, she said, we were in the grocery store, and he said, I bent over to get something off a low shelf, and he said it was really confusing. He said, you bent over to attract attention so other people would look at your butt. Whoops, big red flag. Really? Really? Now she was in the love bombing phase, so she thought, oh, isn't that cute? He just wants me all to himself. Wasn't that many months before that relationship showed itself off as the emotionally abusive relationship it was, because he wanted her to change the way she dressed. He wanted her to change the way she walked. He wanted her to buy a tighter bra that would not let her move when she moved. There were all kinds of things that came after that, but they were all abusive. So number one is if there are threats or accusations of cheating or trying to attract the attention of the other person in the room for whatever reason, but it's a constant. You're doing that to get attention. You're doing that so that someone will notice you and be attracted to you. And in the beginning, like I said, with my client, it was kind of like, oh, this it kind of feels good, wants me all to himself, wants me to be, just his alone, and he's noticing. But it wasn't very long, as I said, before that became very, very, very old. Unfortunately, she saw it soon. Now, number two is criticizing and fault finding. I talk about fault finding all the time, so that's not going to be a surprise to you, because if a person, a hijackal, a narcissist, any of these people we talk about, a person like that cannot tolerate equality. You may have heard me talk about that before. There is no possible way that a hijackal is going to allow for there to be equality. So in that case, somebody has to be wrong or less than or not as good as. Somebody has to be. Now, on a good day, it may get very close. It may him feel like, it's okay, we're good. But if something happens that the hijackal feels a little less than, oh, you're going to get it. You're going to hear the verbal abuse. You're going to hear the emotional abuse, all because the hijackal feels threatened. You didn't do anything. You didn't say anything. You didn't do anything to them. All of a sudden, they feel that you might be approaching equality, and we're not having any of that. So therefore, we've got to pull out the criticisms. We've got to pull out the making wrong. We've got to pull out the fault finding. And after a while, as I said, these are things you may become used to. Yes, you don't hear it anymore. It's just noise, gums flapping, hopefully. But is it still touching your heart? Is it still running there? Is your heart still bruised and hurting from it? Because that's emotional abuse. And you need to see that. Emotional abuse is wrong on every level. it can't continue. Obviously, it can continue. You can go on forever being abused if you like, but at least if you're listening to Save Your Sanity, you will know that that's the case. You're being abused and you're making choices about it so you can deal with that. If you think that you need help doing that, go over to relationshipprograms.com and just look at all the books and ebooks and courses I've written over there. Relationshipprograms.com, and that'll help you get reminded that there is a world in which healthy people live that is based on equality, reciprocity, and mutuality. And if you're not living in that world because you're living with a partner who is not a healthier human, and remember, I divide the world into healthier humans and hijackal humans in this case, then you have to notice that you have to demand healthier human behavior. And if it's not forthcoming, you may have to leave in order to find it. So we have being accused of cheating or of trying to attract someone. And then we have this fault finding and criticizing. And it's constant. It can be something small, let you know that you're not good enough, let you know that you didn't do something well enough, let you know that you forgot to do something, or you didn't do it the way they would like you to. Or it can be something really persistent and large, like you are having an affair. I know you're having an affair, and it's not going to happen under my watch. And it can turn into a threat. And that is emotional abuse again. I was talking with a client today, and I said, have you ever called the police on this person? And like most of my clients, he said, no. And I said, well, in the face of that particular threat, why did you not call the police? Oh, well, I don't want them to lose their job. I don't want them to be embarrassed. I don't want them to be angry at me. Lots of reasons, but they're not good ones. You call the police when you feel unsafe. One of the people I spoke to today had tried to get a man she was seeing out of her house, told him to go, broke up with him, told him to leave, and he would not leave. Call the police. You don't have to have people in your house that you don't want there. I said to her, do you realize that you can call and say, I've asked this person to leave 3 times. They will not leave. Please come and remove this person from my house. And she didn't know that she had the right to do that. She didn't think that was serious enough. She didn't think that that was a real threat, but it is. It is. So it's important for us. If somebody is criticizing and fault finding, and then you want them out of your house, get them out of your house. You have a right to do that. Yeah, it gets trickier if you own the house together. Both names are on the title. I help people with that kind of stuff all the time. You can figure it out. We can figure it out. But if you're hearing things like, you are not good enough, you don't do anything well, you don't do anything on a timely manner, you are just criticized, put down, and worn down, that is emotional abuse. And we say a big no to emotional abuse. So the third one is isolating. Now, this may be one that you haven't thought about as much as some of the others. When you're madly in love, read love bombing with somebody, and they want to start fresh with you. Remember, hijackals are the start fresh kings and queens of the world. They don't want to be accountable for anything that has happened, so they always want a fresh start, fresh start. Let's forget everything and a fresh start. So, one of the things they like to do is to convince you, usually a little romance thrown in, let's move far away where we know no one, or let's move out on the farm next to my family. Any way to get you isolated, any way to get you isolated without your support network, without people to come and help you, without people to drop by and make sure you're okay. Watch for that. That's emotional abuse. They don't want you to have healthy relationships that are sustaining to you. And they want you to become totally dependent on them. And if they have a hijackal family, their family will want that too. And it sounds all romantic and nice in the beginning. We'll build a house, we'll get off the grid. I know I always use that example, but we'll get off the grid, we'll make our own food, the children will have a natural upbringing. It'll be fabulous. Then you move out there, and pretty soon one car dies and it's yours. Does it ever get fixed? No. You become a hostage to the land or to whatever pipe dream you two have had, the big fresh start, so that it can be so exciting. Have you thought of that? Has that happened in your relationship? That you now have emotional abuse that you've gotten used to, right? You need to get out of those places. Just because you got into them doesn't mean you can't raise your head and say, I want out of them. I don't like living here. I want us to have, paint another wonderful fresh start yourself and say, let's move somewhere else and see what happens. At least it's a beginning. It's another way to find out if there's any equality in the relationship. See if that's the case. See how that can work for you. So we have that isolating. They love to do. They love to do. They want to make you dependent on them emotionally. And that's where we get the trauma bonding. Is the person who hurts you, the hijackal, wants you to be so isolated that in order to be comforted after they hurt you, that you have to come to them. And that's why the silent treatment turns into something that you're apologizing for things you never did. You ever had that happen? It just gets so worn out with the silent treatment that you end up apologizing for things that you never did. Couple that with isolation, you've got a terrible stew. You really do. So it becomes important to see that you can get used to isolation, and you can start getting used to thinking that you and your partner have some kind of wonderful bond, because it's a trauma bond. I've done episodes about it. Just go and look. And by the way, if you don't like looking through absolutely everywhere on Spotify or wherever you like to get podcasts, just go to Save Your Sanity Podcast. And my episodes are all there. And you can find them through their descriptions. And they're all searchable. So go to SaveYourSanityPodcast.com. Okay, number 4. I think we all agree that this one is pretty common. However, the fact that you get used to it is the sad part. And number 4 in the emotional abuse category is lying. They lie about little things. They lie about big things. They lie about things that don't matter. They lie about things that do matter. And they don't care. because the idea Hijackal has is I need to be right and win in the moment. That's all that matters to them, to be right and to win in the moment. And that's an issue. Oh, excuse me. Coughing and sneezing can't be many more tricks in up my sleeve tonight. So start thinking about the lying. How pervasive is it? Can you trust a word that comes out of their mouth? Do you trust a word? Do you still trust words that come out of their mouth? Do you still believe them? Are you still hooked on a hope that they're going to tell you the truth? Now, I've done several episodes on getting away from being hooked on hope. Make sure that you look at them, listen to them, because it's a way, being hooked on hope is a way of avoiding. It's a kind of denial. It's so important for you to realize that you're being lied to a lot, in small ways and large ways, about big things that matter, about small things that don't matter, because they don't have any respect for you. And without any respect for you, what have you got? How can you respect them? They're lying to you. And they demonstrate they don't respect you because they lie to you. So, really requires figuring this all out and deciding, what are you going to do? What are you actually going to do? What steps are you going to take? I've said before, not everybody is in a position to just leave. I understand that completely. But steps are important. Truly, truly important. So let's look at number 5 of these 10, which is regularly discounting, dismissing you. They're very dismissive of your needs, dismissive of your opinions, dismissive of your requests, dismissive of you in general, almost as though you don't matter, right? Can you think of an example of when that has occurred? I bet you can. I bet it happened today. They don't care. They don't care what you want. They don't care what you need. And if you ask for it, they care less. Because now you've shown them it's important to them. They'll be even more blasé about it. Have you noticed that? So that's why we don't give them fodder. We don't tell them what bothers us, because that's handing them our vulnerabilities. You've had that experience, right? Where you all of a sudden the hijackal in your life, you seem to be having a nice moment. You seem to be having a come closer moment. You seem to be having a minute where you feel like you might even have a little bit of love. And it's so unusual and so much what you've waited for that you're delighted. And what's your natural response? And I am not making you wrong in any way. Your natural response is, oh my gosh, I've waited for this for so long. It's so wonderful. Let me tell you what's going on in my mind and my heart and what I need. And little do you know that all they're doing is gathering information to weaponize against you. And then you find out later. That's emotional abuse. It's emotional abuse. We need to see the patterns, see the cycles. This is what they do. And watch for the ones that you've already gotten used to. Because they need to be taken into account as well. And lying is one of them. You know, if they lie to you, they lie to others. If they lie to others, who knows the truth? Who knows the truth? You know, There are people that you may know as a result of knowing a hijackal that you don't even know their real names. It's true. You know, everything is up for grabs when you've been with a hijackal for a while as a partner. And it's very, very important to see that these things you've gotten used to need to be brought into the daylight and brushed off and seen clearly for what they are. And this last one I mentioned, the discounting and the dismissing, the you don't matter stuff, that's huge. That's huge. And you may have accommodated by, oh, well, I didn't really need it. I guess I can get along without it. Well, it would be nice to have my opinion considered, but I guess it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. It is a big deal. Partnerships are equal. You know, how many times have I said it? Equality, reciprocity, mutuality. The three must haves of a healthy adult relationship. If they're not there, you do not have a healthy relationship. When you are with a hijackal, those three are not there. They will not be there. They will not get there. They will not come there. They will not grow there. So stop expecting it. Hijackals are never going to do those three things. So you're realizing the reality is that you have to move away at whatever speed you can and begin emotionally. Very important. All right, let's look at number 6. That is that goes along with the being dismissed, eroding your self-esteem, always eroding your self-esteem, body shaming. You know, it's the craziest thing, isn't it? You just think about it. A woman is pregnant, and everybody tells her how beautiful she looks, and everybody wants to touch her stomach, and oh, it's all wonderful. And then what? 6 months after she has the baby, some hijackal is saying to her, "Well, you better get to the gym, hadn't you? What's up with all that extra skin? Why haven't you lost the weight? Have we forgotten the joy of the baby, the creation of the baby, the space we created for the baby?" It's crazy. It's crazy. And yet, we've gotten used to it. We kind of think that, oh, people are supposed to leap off the delivery table and start doing Pilates right away. Crazy. Crazy. Women are supposed to nurture themselves and their babies, take good care of themselves, not get out there and get in shape immediately because maybe they're not a perfect paragon of virtue that some partner wanted. No, 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 absolutely not. So, eroding your self esteem is one of those emotional abuses that come in tiny pieces sometimes. You know, like, couldn't be bothered to brush your hair today? You know, can be something like that. Can be something huge. But it is that erosion constantly. You know what? Chinese water torture will in fact kill you, and it's just one drop of water at a time on your scalp. Well, imagine what one horrible thing said to you every day does to your soul. It erodes who you are. And at least, please, learn to negate those things when they're said. Well, I just had the most wonderful baby, and when the time is right, I'm sure my body and I will come back to being our next best phase. Don't take it on. Just don't take it on board. It's easy to overlook it and to sort of normalize it. Think, oh, well, yeah, that's the culture. That's the way it is. Beautiful, um, slim, perfect. No, don't do that. Don't buy into that. And don't have some emotional abuser who's now jealous of you having a baby because now that's competition. It's competition. The person had you all to themselves. Now they have to share you with the baby. They don't like that. It's competition. So they find ways to dig and poke and prod and provoke. And that's horrible. But it's emotional abuse. See it for what it is. And number 7, only their solutions are acceptable. Have you noticed that? That only their solutions are acceptable, not yours. What you want, what you need, what you prefer. Mm-mm. Only their solutions. And you better agree with them. And they'll threaten, they'll make things difficult. But it is that my way or the highway. That's the way it is. And that is something that you cannot get used to. You cannot afford to get used to because it'll erode your whole life. You know, you're a thinking adult. You have dreams, you have aspirations, you have plans, you have things you look forward to doing or creating or becoming. Don't let some hijackal take all of those away because now you think that you should be used to being worn down, torn down, and put down. Mm-mm. Notice it and say no. You don't have to move a muscle. You don't have to make an ugly face. You don't have to do anything except when you hear it to say, mm-mm, I am not taking that emotional abuse on board at all. I absolutely am not. Then you can say whatever else you want in your head, but say that part, okay? Because this is not all right. Now move on to number 8. Making unrealistic demands. They always want more. They always want to be right. They always want you to give in. And they always want you to give over. So they make unrealistic demands and they expect and demand that you go with them. And if you have just given up, which is, I have true understanding for why you may have given up, but I'm encouraging you today to get back up again. You know, there are ways. There are ways. If you want to be part of my Emerging Empowered membership group, come on over. We talk about this all the time in the forums and in my 3 times a month Ask Me Anything group call with members. Go to joinintoday.com and become part of the Emerging Empowered community because you may need a restart and there'll be people there who also need a restart and are willing to walk with you and talk about it and keep that idea alive because it's no good people making unrealistic demands and then making you wrong for not meeting their unrealistic demands. It's crazy making. Everything about being with a hijackal is crazy making. See it clearly. You're not crazy. The demands are crazy. The emotional abuse is crazy. And to see it again with fresh eyes from this episode can cause you to say, I've been putting up with some stuff about with I do not want to put up. And I'm not going to lose sight of it again. So don't forget their unrealistic demands do not require you leaping into a space to give them what they want. And number 9, they deny facts. Isn't that the most infuriating thing about them? They deny facts. You tell them something they said, something they wrote down, something they promised, and they'll tell you it never happened. Crazy making. You will tell them that yesterday they said the red was white, and they will tell you, you don't listen. You will say to them, yesterday you wanted it this way, and they'll say, I've never said that in my life. That's crazy. You're crazy. And so we get into this denying facts. Facts. They can have a piece of paper with a court date on it, and you'll have the same piece of paper they have, and the court has it. When they look at it, they say somebody must have changed their mind. No, you're not that powerful. Nobody did that. But that's the way that they manage or try to manage. And it's important for you to see that this is emotional abuse. They change and deny facts. They hate facts. They hate facts because they cannot work around them. I did an episode not long ago about why narcissists use emotions. It's because they can't use facts. It's a good one to listen to because they can't handle facts. And when you get into a place where you are so used to hearing that this person denied facts that you just shake your head and walk away, let's revive that conversation. Do you really want to be with somebody who cannot deal with a fact? No, you don't. And again, the caveat is, you leave in whatever way you can. You leave emotionally, you leave physically, you leave in whatever way you can. But you must at least consider moving away mentally from the crazy making and see it for what it is. I think that's one of the great values of the emerging empowered community is we talk about that kind of thing, seeing it for what it is. It's crazy making. Let's all agree and not forget that. So number 10, hijackal and their emotional abuse. They want to honestly expect you to have no needs and to put them first. They want you to have no needs, no opinions, no desires, no preferences, no goals, no aims, no dreams, only theirs. And only theirs count. And some of their dreams are simply to keep you squashed. They're not high and mighty. They're not going to be doing something amazing for the scientific community and the world. They just want you to be small and crawling on your knees, or to feel less than, or to feel like you're lucky to have them. And they're expecting you to have no needs except to fulfill theirs. And that is horrible. It's horrible. I'm sure you can hear it just as I say it. That's unreasonable. It's crazy making. There's obviously no equality, reciprocity, or mutuality in it, but it's how they really think. And I hope you think about that. It really is how they think. And knowing that, don't expect differently, but expect differently from yourself. That's really important. So that's why I wanted to bring these 10 things to you and to have you just revisit them. Are they the things you've gotten used to and you're just not remembering them anymore? You have other fish to fry? That's probably true. But keep it journal. These things are not okay. They're not okay. And they're not okay for your children to see or learn either. So, you know what I say, and I really mean this. Until we meet again, take very good care of yourself because you're precious and you matter. Talk soon. Hello. Good evening, everybody. Thanks, love. Yeah, the breathing is fun. Roller girl, hi. Terry, you've made an enormous difference in the world getting the word out. I'm glad. Thank you. Anita says thanks for the videos.
I found this on the web. Forgive me, an enormous difference in the world. The word I'm glad. Thank you. Check it out. By the way,
And you wonder if she's not there when you don't want her. She's listening. Anita says thanks for the videos. Thinking of helping others as you have with your own medical situation. It is admirable. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Annie. Let's see here. I know I went on a little long. Maybe not everybody could hang in there. Thank you for the sneeze blessing. Hundas is catching them in lies big and small. They'll flip it on you. I can't believe you did that. Yeah, that's so like them, isn't it? Hi, Sounds. Had that experience today. I don't know which one it was, but take it. Thanks for the love. Sounds. Thank you, Nancy. It would be lovely. However, it's not the direction. Oh, thank you for the love, Mary Rose. I appreciate it. And girl, thank you for the blessings. My goodness, this is very nice. I appreciate all the healing and the prayers and everything. Actually, it's going to stay like this in all likelihood, and that may be something that I get. Maybe it doesn't sound as good as I want it to, but until that happens, I'll stay doing this. Oh, Squirrel. I made more comments, but they didn't stay up. The chat kept disappearing. Oh, well, that's not good. That's not good at all. But there aren't any questions, I see. So something must have gone a bit sideways. So I hope that, you know, what I was talking about, you will revisit and see if, you know, that ad that says, you know, you may have gone nose blind to the smells in your kitchen or your car. Well, you may have gone nose blind to, you know, some of the underlying things you've given up on because the emotional abuse is so multi-pronged. But please don't. Oh, Squirrel, good and wonderful message today. It's, it's important. I know it's a lot, but it's super, super important. And it is worthwhile to stay on top of it and to get out from under it at the same time. Yeah. Oh, now things are coming in here. Jewel says, God bless your heart and lungs. You woke me up to what was going on in my new job with a CO worker. Oh, good. Oh, John said I went nose blind to the abuse. Yes, please, please don't do that. is just too much. You've done too much work. You've taken too much in. Don't go nose blind to it. Take action. Do something. Oh, thank you, Cosmo. That is why I do what I do. And it's my pleasure to do it. So, also know if at any time I did over 300 episodes of a show called Emotional Savvy, where I had guests. And if any time you're looking for more information about this topic, but with my guests, just go to emotionalsavvy.com and you'll see all the shows or wherever you like to get your podcast. Squirrel says, I moved out with a car and he only cares about the cat. The cat likes me more than when sleeps with me. Well, offering words in what you wrote there, I moved out. Yay! Okay. Squirrel says I need to learn more about triangulation and smear campaigns. I've done some videos on it. Make sure that you go to my YouTube video. My YouTube channel is called For Relationship Help, FOR Relationship HELP, and you can find my videos there. Oh, I see. So you don't have to worry about the cat because you got the car, and that's what he cares about. That makes more sense. Good stuff. Cat is the better part of the deal. Could be. But a car has much more functions, so that can be a really good thing. Well, there's not any questions that are showing up here, and we know our deal is that if we see questions, and I haven't seen any questions for 30 seconds, I think we're full up for the evening and we've had enough information and stimulating thought. So hopefully that's the case here. Squirrel said he started 2 years ago and I didn't realize it until 2 months. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad you were here. Hopefully, tell your friends, come on along next week. We'll always have a good time and another good, strong topic. And in the meantime, again, take very good care of yourself and see yourself as precious because you matter. Take good care.